everyone. I am Gabby from Sage and Spirit Art. Thank you so much for being here. This is going to be my first ever YouTube video, and I am teaching y'all how to make these very cute toaster pastries. So here is the strawberry one. As you can see, she has all these cute little sprinkles. Here's what the back looks like. Super easy, totally no sew. And here is the wild berry toaster pastry. This little cutie is the one I'm actually going to be teaching you how to make in the video today. But these are the exact same pattern. The only difference is the colors and if you're doing frosting on it or sprinkles. So please enjoy. Subscribe for more content like this. I'll be doing a lot more tutorials on this channel. I'm also going to be doing some beginner crochet tips. Also things I've learned. I'm a self-taught crocheter. So I want to show some of the things I've learned throughout my journey and how I got to this point. So enjoy. I hope you make your own toaster pastry, and please let me know what flavors and colors you're going to do. So for this project, we're going to need a brown yarn. This is what we're going to use for the pastry. We're going to use a yarn for the body of the frosting. And then we're going to need an accent color. So today we're going to be doing the wild berry. So it's going to be purple with some of this light blue zigzags on it. You're also going to need a darning needle, some scissors, a crochet hook, any size will work, just one to match your yarn, 2 pairs of safety eyes, and 2 backings. This project is great because it actually doesn't use a stitch marker, which makes it really easy and really beginner friendly. So let's get started. So to start, we're going to take our frosting color. So this is going to be the thing that you're going to see the most. Really important, we want to start with this color because the other one, the pastry color, is actually going to go around the outside and it's going to make kind of the pastry look. So you want to start with whatever your accented color for the frosting is. So we're going to make a slip stitch, put it on your hook, and then we're going to chain 19. 1, Awesome. So now we have our chain of 19. So this is how long it's going to be. And we're actually going to skip this. So we're skipping the first and going right into the second hook, the second loop from the hook, excuse me. And we're going to put a single crochet in there. And then we're going to put a single crochet in all other 17 of them. So this is 2, 3, and you want to make sure when you're doing this that your chain is not getting twisted. That's really important for a couple of reasons. So the first is because we want like a really nice rectangular shape, and if our chain is twisted, we won't be able to get that. The second is because we're actually going to be working into the back side of this chain when we go to attach the pieces, and if it's twisted, it'll be hard to do this and it's just not going to have a clean look. So this step I always do much slower than my other single crochet rows, because I find that it can be really hard to single crochet into the chain. As you can see, I literally just dropped a stitch. So we're going to do that all the way to the end. And then if you look at mine, you can see it's starting to curve. Don't worry about that. You want to kind of have your tension a little looser here because you do want it to be a rectangle, but it's really just because this is only the first row. As long as you're working with tension on the looser side for both the chain and this row, that won't be a concern later on. Awesome. So, and then sometimes this stitch can be kind of hard to see, so I do want to zoom in so y'all can see this. So I've done 17, here's the 18th, so it's right here, and it's really important that you get this one because if you miss it, you're gonna have more of, like, instead of having a nice rectangle shape, it's actually gonna triangle, and we don't want that. So I finished the row. Now I'm going to turn, chain 1, and I'm going to work right back into this. So there are no increases or decreases throughout this pattern. It's literally just chains and single crochets, which is awesome. This is definitely one of the easier patterns, if not the easiest, that I've ever made, which is really nice because I think that a lot of people, when they start amigurumi or they start crocheting, they don't necessarily know what they don't know. And if you made the mistake like me of trying to start in the round, there were a lot of very ugly plushies until they actually started to look like plushies. So maybe I'll do another video if y'all are interested, showing kind of some of my first plushies and some of my later ones and what I've learned on the way. Awesome. So same thing. So I'm at the last stitch. This is the last stitch. So we're going to go through both of the little parts of the V and single crochet as I drop it. And then this isn't a stitch. This is the chain from the previous row. So we're going to turn, chain 1, and now this is row 3. So you're actually just going to keep doing this until you have 25 rows. I'm going to speed up this part of the video, but I will pause and show you an easy way to count when we get a little further in, just because I want to make sure that y'all don't have to count to 25 the whole time. So I'm going to show you just one more time the very last stitch that I'm working into, just because that one can be hard to see. And as I said before, it's really important that you're getting them all. If you're ever not sure, you can always count the 18, but I'm not. I'm just going back and forth. And right here, so if you look closely, you can see there are 2 little parts of this V. So here's the first one, here's both of them. So I'm going to single crochet in here, and then that is the turning chain from the other one. So turn, chain 1, and then same thing, and then right back into this first one. Now here's row 4. All right, I will see y'all soon. So we're going to pause really quick right here, and I want to show you how it's an easy way to figure out how many rows you're on. So when we did row 1, I don't know if y'all can really clearly see it, but when we did row 1, we chained this way and then we went back this way, meaning that if the yarn is closer to the left, so the left is my non-dominant hand, so then I have this little tail at the bottom is closer to my left, and then the tail at the top is also closer to my left, that means that I just completed an odd number row. Awesome. So how do I tell how many rows? So I was not counting, so I'm going to do this with y'all right now. So I actually like to switch it. Actually, we'll do it this way. Sorry. So if you look here really closely, every other row, so every second row, I'll point with my hook, there's this little divot. And that's how we can tell. So ready? This is 1, this was 2, this was 3. So each of these little blobs between the divots are going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I just completed row 13. So I'm going to do the same thing that I have been doing. So I'm going to chain and turn or turn and chain. It doesn't really matter. I know I've been kind of doing both interchangeably. And then I'm going to keep y'all here for a sec before I speed it up again because I want to show you when you just complete an even row. So the tail is going, they're going to be in opposite spots this time. So the one at the bottom, not your working yarn, the actual tail is going to be on the right or the side of your dominant hand. And then your working yarn is going to be on the left side, and that's how we know we just completed an even numbered row when the yarns are on opposite sides from each other. So it's going to be a little bit easier to kind of see these now. And then I just completed row 14. So right here, this is 1 set, this is 2, this is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have 7 groups of 2. So I just finished row 14. I'm going to go and I'm going to finish all the way to row 25, so I'm going to have more of a rectangle shape, and I will see y'all soon. So I've completed 24 rows. I'm going to do my 25th row right now. So this is going to be the last row of the frosting, which is very exciting. So same way as before, to know that you're at 25, you want to make sure you're going to count those rows, and then your yarn tail and your working yarn are going to end on the same side. It's really important that you know how many rows you did here, because we're going to do the same amount of rows for the back. So if for some reason you don't want to do 25, you want to do a lower number, or if you want to do 30 or 35, it really doesn't matter how many you do, it just matters that you know so that you can do the same amount on the back. So I just did the last single crochet into the last stitch. I'm not going to chain one this time. I'm going to grab my scissors and then cut the yarn and pull it through. So we're not going to really need a long tail here, you just don't want it to unravel because we're going to be crocheting this all together. So I'm gonna go grab my accent color in my eyes and I'll see y'all real soon. Awesome, so I have my safety eyes and I have my accent color and I have my darning needle. So if you wanted to add a smile, this is going to be a really good place to do it. I'm actually going to skip out on the smile this time, but I will tell you when to add it. So per the pattern, which you can find in the description, and also it's going to be on my Instagram, so whichever you would prefer, we're going to put the eyes between rows 20 and 21, about 6 stitches apart. So this is 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, so it's going to be right here. So I like how this guy looks right here and how this one looks right here. Awesome. So I always put the eyes in. I like to put both in before securing them. So I'm going to secure these all the way. How you secure them and whether or not you can do it with your fingers or if you need a safety edge, it really depends on your eyes. So I'm happy with how these look. Now I'm going to grab my accent color. So for this one, I want kind of like a zigzag across. So I'm just going to cut some of this blue, if I could find the end. I'm going to say about this long. It doesn't really matter because this is really up to personal preference, whatever you're looking for, whatever kind of sprinkles, whatever kind of colors. So this part, feel free to just do whatever feels right to you. But for the kind of back and forth design, so I'm going to start a little bit above the eyeballs, pull this through pretty far, but not all the way. I want to leave a tail so it doesn't fall out. And then I like my stripes to be really consistent. So I'm going to count. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to do 5 below and all the way over and then pull this through. So looking at this, I don't love where this is in relation to the eye. So I'm actually going to go back through this hole to undo it, and I want to go a little lower. So let's try it here. And that's really the good part about this, and I really prefer to sew this over anything else because I want to have the flexibility to change. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 at the bottom. So ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to put it right here. And now this is like a little weird, but this is how I prefer to do this. So I'm going to put it here, so then you actually see the stripe pretty well on the back side, but going back to the front side, and then I'm going to insert it right back into this same stitch. I really like the way it looks when it's in the exact same stitch. Obviously, you can do this part however you'd like. I'm just going to do the same thing one more time. So I'm going to put it down, then I'm going to put it right here, pulling it through. Looks like I cut a little too much. And then beautiful. So I'm really happy with how this looks. I'm going to flip it over. I see I cut way too much of this frosting color, but I like to tie these in a knot just to make sure that the ends don't come undone. So I'm not going to tie this super tight because I don't want it to stretch the project at all. Because I'll show you. So if as he falls, this were to be too tight, it'll stretch the project kind of weird. I don't want that. I want to leave these pretty loose. I just want to make sure that this doesn't unravel. I like my plushies to be things that you can snuggle with. So I don't want there to be any pieces that can kind of fall off at any point. So I'm just going to tie some knots. It really doesn't matter because this is going to be the inside. So this is really just kind of for my own peace of mind, knowing that it's not going to come off. So, all right, I am happy with this. This is all going to be hidden inside, so it doesn't matter. And I really like how this one looks. So I'm going to go grab the yarn for the pastry, and I'll see you in a sec. So the pastry, we are going to be doing the exact same way as we did the frosting. So tying a little tail, we're going to be chaining 19 again. So same thing. And as I said before, we want to make sure we do leave these a little loose. And then here's 19. Look at this, it looks pretty good. And then I'm going to go back into the second one and single crochet. and then I'm going to single crochet all the way down, and then I'll pause again when we do the very last one. I want to make sure that y'all are definitely getting this, because it's really important that this turns out, that this turns out the exact same dimensions as the first one. That's how we're going to get that really cute squishy feeling and just like really nice pastry on the outside. So I'm going to finish going across. Then same thing, if you look, this is kind of turning, you can just pull it. As you saw with the purple, it will totally work itself out as you keep going across, so it's not a big deal at all. So I'm finishing these up. I have just a few more stitches. And then here we go. So here is the last stitch. Really careful not to miss that. Stitch, you're going to chain and turn, or turn and chain, whichever you like best. And then we're going to keep doing this so that we have 25 rows. So remember, the chain does not count as its own row. That's going to be part of row 1. We only count the actual single crochets as the rows. So this is going to be row 2. I am going to go finish this piece off camera, and I'll meet you back when I am doing probably row 23. We'll do the last couple together. Really important, if you're going to skip ahead, do not cut this yarn. This is the yarn that we're going to use to attach the 2 pieces. So you want to make sure that you're not cutting any of this, because then you won't be able to attach the pieces in a no-sew method, which I think is really important for this pattern. So meet me back when you are almost done, but not quite. And then I will show you how we're going to attach the pieces and stuff. See y'all soon. So I'm just finishing up my 25th row of my pastry. I did the same thing as I did for the frosting, just kind of went back and forth, adding that chain and turn between every row. So super straightforward. Basically, you're just making the same piece twice. So I'm finishing this up, and remember, we're not going to cut this piece. And I have some stuffing to the side, a little out of camera. So make sure you have that ready, because that's going to come up quick. So I finished this piece. I'm not chaining one, same as before. And now I'm going to grab my pastry and I get to line them up. So this is going to be where we connect the pieces. So if I were to do it just like this, and there's nothing wrong with it, this is totally personal preference, my ends are actually going to be in the exact same spot. I don't love that. I'm always worried that when the ends are in the same spot, it could unravel. It's probably just me being paranoid, but I like to do mine this way. So it means that the side that we crochet last is going to be the end. So we're going to be working into, on the sides, 1 chain and 1 single crochet, and then the sides. So taking this, we're not cutting. I'm going to put my hook into the purple first, and then back into the pastry. So we're going to do this 25 times. So there are 25 rows. We're going to do this once for every row. So that was 1. This part can be really hard, so go slow. I always struggle with this, so literally no worries if you're having some difficulty too. And then you're just going to go through and single crochet through both pieces all the way. So this was number 3. And I'm not going to speed this part up, but feel free, if you get the hang of it, you are more than welcome to. So I am really curious to know what color combos everyone is doing. So drop it in the comments, tag me in your videos, tag me in your posts. I feel like there are just really endless possibilities here. I have already made, oh goodness, a bunch of them. And I'm so excited to keep experimenting with different colors and different flavors. I really want to make a cookies and cream one, which maybe by the time I film the intro for this video, that'll be done, but probably not. But so far this weekend, I made 2. For me, start to finish, this whole project takes about an hour, which was really good, and I love that it's no-sew. I hate sewing, so I've been really working to design as many as my patterns no-sew as possible lately. I know that I am not the only person that just wants to crochet. More power to you if you like sewing. I can't do it. Rephrase. Okay, I can do it. I just don't want to. I would just much rather connect pieces this way So a lot of my patterns and my Ribbler and my Etsy are both linked below too if you want to check them out. A lot of them are no sew or as low sew as they can be. That's really important to me. So pausing from me just talking about life really quick, you can start to see this is starting to form. So I'm going to keep going all the way. So I'm doing this as close to one every row as possible. Sometimes it can be hard. Sometimes you just really cannot find the stitch. It's really okay. You just want to make sure you're doing as many as possible. So now I'm in the last one. So I'm going to tuck this tail, grab right here, and grab the last one. And now we hit the end of this row. I'm going to chain one and I'm going to go across. So this side is much easier because now I actually have single crochets to work into. So one into the single crochet and one into the first chain. We're going to do this all the way around. So remember, we're doing the purples in the single crochet with the way that I aligned it, and then the brown is going to be in just a chain. It doesn't really matter, like I was saying before, which way you do this. If it's easier for you to align it the other way, that is perfectly fine. It will work either way. I don't actually think it will unravel. It just, I don't know, it stresses me out. Something I do want to note though is I find it way easier to do the side walls before doing the top and the bottom. So like I really purposefully started going up and then over, because when you do this fourth side, it's going to be stuffed. So you don't want to be struggling while there's already stuffing in it. I think it's much easier to do the harder sides, which in my opinion are the side walls, when there is no stuffing. Because I just really hate the look of stuffing kind of poking out of plushies. And in my mind, it's much easier to accidentally do this when you're doing the harder parts once it's already stuffed, you know? So I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's totally in my head. You are more than welcome to do it the other way. If you do and it works better, please let me know. I'm always interested to learn more. I love to see when I make patterns how people kind of take it and adapt and grow and do what works best for them. So now I'm in my last stitch of the top. So I'm going to put it through here. And then remember, this last chain can be kind of hard to find. So you want to make sure you're getting it. So I did 18 across. I'm going to single crochet, and then we're going to just do the same thing down. We're going to do as close to the 25 as we can, single crocheting through all of them, and then we're going to stuff. So you actually don't need to stuff this, or you could stuff it really thick. It's cute and pretty squishy as is. I use, just kind of for size reference, this is Hobby Honey Bunny. Yeah, this is all Hobby Honey Bunny. I was trying to think if there was any baby snuggle in here, but there is not. And a 5.5 millimeter hook. So this guy works up pretty chunky, which is awesome. If you wanted, you could kind of repeat the same steps around a pillow and literally just make it into a square pillowcase, or if you had like a standard pillow, I kind of feel like a king pillow would be really cute. You could do it around then. My only recommendation is that when you do the first chain, you want it to be just a little bit longer than the pillowcase, and then you're just going to keep repeating it all the way up. Something I do want to add, and I can show you after it's stuffed, is that this method of connecting the pieces does add a pretty distinct ridge on the outside right here. Like the last edges, those aren't going to be puffy when you stuff them. Like they're not going to be super squishy right there. But I think that this looks really good, and it kind of cleans up the weirdness of doing the chains here. So I just finished this. I'm going to chain one. Then I like to put my stitch through my hook through the very first stitch. One, and I'm probably going to do, let's say, 3 of them. And then this is the exact opposite of what we did on the top. I'm working into the chain of the purple and then the single crochet, there. So I got my stuffing, and I like to pull my working yarn pretty big. So there's this pretty big loop right here, and just start to stuff. So this is really going to be your opportunity to stuff. I like to stuff mine so they're not hard, but so they're like really snuggly. But really any amount of stuffing that you prefer is right here. And then same thing, if you were going to do this as a pillowcase over an existing pillow, before you do any of the stitches here, you're actually going to just fit the pillow in. I would recommend checking the pillow fits a bunch of times before connecting the pieces. Like I'd probably just do it with the frosting color a bunch of times to make sure that it's big enough and then I'm happy with it. And then yeah, so this is really going to be your opportunity to get the stuffing all the way in there. You want to get all the way into those corners. You want to make sure the bottom is nice and squishy. Perfect. So I'm happy with how this is. So I'm just going to finish up single crocheting along. So into the chain, into this, and then remember this is no sew. So no sew actually. It's really just the accents, which are totally optional. Especially if you really don't want to sew, a recommendation I have is trying a yarn that is variegated, or I know that Hobby makes a Honey Bunny candy yarn that has little sprinkles in it already. That would be a really good way to get the sprinkle look without having to sew at all. I think Premier also makes a yarn like that. Bernat makes one. I apologize, I don't remember what those brands kind of comparison is. And something I just want to add as I am finishing this up, so I'm a little more than halfway done going across, and then as I do go across, the stuffing kind of pops out some more, so I like to just smoosh that in as I'm finishing. Then we're just going to keep going all the way across, and then right here I'm almost done. I have about an inch left. This would be a really good opportunity to add just a little bit of final stuffing right here. This end is pretty hard to stuff as you're still working, so I like to just always, when I'm almost done, smoosh a little bit more stuffing in there. Then I'm just going to finish up single crochet, and as you've noticed, as I'm holding the sides up, working on the sides, I'm actually holding them together. I find this much easier to align them. You also can use stitch markers if you have them to kind of hold everything in place, which is definitely something I recommend if you're a newer crocheter or you're not great in crocheting in this style. So last thing I'm going to do is I finish the last stitch. I'm not going to chain again. I'm just going to cut the yarn tail, pull it through. So now here's my working yarn. And what I like to do, because I want to be able to really hide this, is I put my hook in a couple rows away, and then I'm just going to pull this all the way through. So I'm going to pull it out, pull it nice and tight, and then just do the same thing, so that I'm going to hide this yarn within my plushie. And then sometimes I'll do it in the same spot, sometimes I'll do it in a couple of different spots. It really depends. And then you are all done. I really like it. I love how this color combo turned out. Very wild berry.